Divergent. So this is gonna be a weird movie review because there's a bit of bias. I was watching this movie with two friends, so it was a very enjoyable watch because we were laughing during the movie, making fun of it. This movie review and all my other movie reviews on this channel are short and concise, so I may skip over a lot of things that this movie deals with either in a good way or a bad way, so I recommend watching other reviews as well. For me, this movie was a really fun watch. It was filled with cringe, interesting scenarios, and cringe. I mean, obviously they adapted those scenarios from the book, but I'm a movie reviewer, not a book reviewer, so I have to review this movie as if the book doesn't exist. Not really, but I'm going to anyway. The movie actually brought in some interesting scenarios and concepts, again, stolen from the book, but it's an adaptation, so deal with it. For example, the sorting hat. But it's not really a sorting hat, and it's way cooler. Basically, there's 5 different factions in this movie, and at the age of 16, citizens are allowed to pick any faction they want, and each faction has their own characteristic. And you turn 16, and you want to go to a different faction, well, you'll have to abandon your family forever. Something this movie does well is hyping up one of the factions, or the faction that the main character chooses. Dauntless. So Dauntless, again, is the crazy ones, the black colored, the ones who wear black clothing. But the twist that you find out as soon as our main character picks the Dauntless faction is that if you don't meet the really high expectations, you end up homeless. Factionless, as they like to call it. It's just homelessness. And so a lot of the discussions that I had with my friends while watching this movie was, you know, what would we do if we were in this person's scenario? What would we do if we were here, there? What faction would we pick? And so any movie that allows for conversation like that means that it has a good story. But that's all for the pros. This movie was heavily flawed. Let's talk about it. Now, you could watch this movie without knowing that it was a novel adaptation, but somehow you'd still be able to figure it out. You'd watch the movie realizing that a lot of things are left unexplained, and the only reason for that is because there's a novel that exists explaining everything out there. So this is a bad novel adaptation, and I haven't even read the novel. For you fans screaming out there in anger, the reason I say this is because there was a lot of plot holes that I felt needed to be explained, but the only way I could, you know, figure out what the answer to those plot holes are by reading the book, which I haven't read, but it's a movie. I want to enjoy the movie for what it is. Also, the reason I kept reusing the word cringe is because there's literally no better word to describe this movie. The dialogue, acting, writing, character decision making were all cringe. All different types of cringe. To call out specific characters when it comes to subpar dialogue and acting, Trish, the number 4, and Kate Winslet's character were all poorly written. They were boring, stale, predictable. The only somewhat interesting acting in this movie was of that of Eric's character. And although you'd feel a presence in the scene that he was in, which is great, he was so generic. And the last part of the cringe was the character decision making, and I don't even know where to start with that because the whole time in the movie, I was just like, why is she doing that? Why did he just do that? Why would she even do that? Why is he even doing that? Why would you ever do that? You do realize you could have just, is that the most logical thing you could be doing right now? You know he could have just, were you drop-kicked 30 feet in the air as a child? What is wrong with you people? Were among the many questions me and my friends would ask while watching this movie. And honestly, the character's decision making was horrible. And honestly, the decision making almost made me want to turn off the movie. Like, who wrote these scripts for these clowns? I mean, characters. I give this movie a 6.5 out of 10. Now, I know I made fun of this movie a lot, but the thing is, this movie is fun and enjoyable to watch regardless of my bias. And that's how all movies should be. Compared to the first review I did on this channel of Marvel's Eternals, the difference between this movie and Marvel's Eternals is that all the cringe in this movie was replaced in Marvel's Eternals by boredom. And where Divergent was actually kind of fun to watch, Eternals wasn't at all. Like and subscribe. I'm dropping 3 videos. This is the 3rd video. Watch my other video.